So you got one of these old cars from the earlier 60s that had power brakes, and you're trying to replace the really expensive one that nobody knows how to rebuild properly anyway. I can't tell you how many horror stories I hear about this, but it's also pretty small, although the brakes work good because it's four-wheel drum. You want to put an aftermarket one in, you're going to have a few problems. I'm going to go over them here. So, number one, I bought an 11-inch one because this was close to, it's really like 9 to 10, you know, it was like 9.5. So I was looking at the 9-inch one. I'm like, why go smaller? But it really wouldn't have made much difference, you know. This guy was on that, but I had to remove this. This thing here is very, very short. The aftermarket one comes out a lot more, but this thing here seems a little closer to it, but it still came out like up to here, the universal one. If you look up on eBay, the 9-inch booster. The 8-inch I think is just way too small, you know, for the car, and it's kind of cheesy. But this thing here is a bit taller, and in hindsight, I wouldn't have probably got it. I probably would have got the 9-inch one. However, this stud here, I had to tap this, I had to thread it with a die, and the fucking thing, this rod was out to here. I have this much off. Um, yeah, you can see where I started cutting it. That inference there. This was the thread that was on it. This is how long it was. I had no idea I'd have that much off. I just figured they were all about the same, but this one ends up being a lot longer, and I think it's for the big GM B bodies. Now this is a B body, but this had a little tiny thing. This is shorter, and they don't really make this too much. You could find them. I had one, but it had threads on it, not the female threads. So the other problem was this is 7/16 this hole, and there's a stud that's permanently mounted on the brake pedal. So if you want to mess with that, you're gonna have a hard time. So this is what I did. I went to Ace Hardware. I got a what's known as a oh, by the way, one other thing. The distance. This is the top. Okay, so this is the top and this is the bottom. The distance between here and here and here and here is exactly like this and this. This is a perfect square, 3 3/8 of an inch. So this is 3 3 3/8 of an inch. This is 3 5/8 of an inch. So first thing I had to do was elongate these holes on the bottom. I ended up drilling the holes out like one size bigger because it really didn't make a difference. It makes it fit that much nicer. And yeah, I went oval on those holes there. I just basically drilled a hole above it and started using the die grinder to make little ovals. It's fine. And so again, 7/16. So in Ace Hardware, they have shaft collars that have a set screw in them. So I took out the set screw, which was a 1/4 inch set screw. I drilled the hole out. I tapped it to 3/8 fine thread. I welded a nut to it with a nut inside it, so you know the threads would be good. And I grinded it down. It ends up being this is going to fit perfectly, and it's ever so slightly like a little bit bigger, but there was a washer on the other side with a cotter pin, so I'm not going to bother with the washer if anything. But I still think I could fit a washer, or maybe I'll put a plastic washer, but it fits perfectly. And now you put this, and I just had it in my hand. Yeah, it came with this nut here. You know, the grade 8 nut is a little bit thicker, so let's go with the thicker nut. And I thought, because when you look at the part that I cut, it's funny how I'm feeling it. Okay, it's because the boss is bigger, you know, and it was hard to cut this. You know, thank God I had a decent one, and it did a good job. But you could actually feel that this is bigger. But you know what? The brand new nuts, they fit loose on the Chinese threads, or whatever you want to call this, the original threads that they made. Okay, because I think they actually cut it slightly small and then they coat it or something. And it's not chrome, but I don't know. So I was just thinking some kind of electroplate part processing. Then they cheesed a little bit, but I dug into the hardened thing. But you know the nut fits on beautifully. It's so much more, you know, tighter, if you will, but without, you know, being tight. You know, and I cut that with a, you know, I cut it and cleaned up the threads with a what do you call a tool? Is the whole thing spinning? Of course the whole thing is spinning. Hang on a second. Because the nut that they gave me fit right on easily. Yeah, just that first thread. So this might be a little bit bigger, but the only thing I have to do is adjust the brake light switch. I don't like the brake light switch that's in the car, so I'm going to get an aftermarket one. It's gonna look, it looks just like it, though the aftermarket one is meant for the car, but it has two nuts that hold it on. Where this one had that push thing, and that push thing is it's not allowing it to really move too much actually, and it sticks so much past the thing that um, the I'm afraid that when the arm hits, I need the brake pedal to be up a little bit higher. I could cut more off and probably get it a little bit closer, but I'd rather him have a little bit more brake pedal. So I accidentally turned off the phone right when I said brake pedal. So ultimately, this might come out a little bit more. It may not. There's not like a huge room for adjustment because you really want it to, in order for it to be the safest it can possibly be, you want as much thread in that hole, you know. So I was doing that. I was giving myself a little bit more room to do things. So I'm just making it shorter, but I may have made that rod a little bit longer. But this is going to work out absolutely fine, you know. I'm very happy with the way this came out. I'm actually shocked how well it came out. So a little bit tighter on this because, you know, I was welding this thing on and whatnot. And but it's simply pretty amazing. I think what's happening is that it's binding a little bit and I'm not holding the stud. And the nut's going up instead of the nut threading. But I have more room to thread it. But, you know, no matter what, as long as the thread is in there, it's the safest it's going to be. The pin is going to be right on top of it, and it can't really go any further. It can't fall out. Even if the weld broke, it would still be on there, and you'd feel that there was something wrong. But because my welds are a little bit to be desired, but I can tell it's nothing wrong with that. You know, it came out just fine. You know, but I just have to kind of gingerly hold the shaft here. So do that. You know, so you just gingerly hold the shaft, and yeah, I just turn it like that. And obviously, you don't want the thing to poke out too far because you still have to get it in that, you know, thing. And it looks like I did pull it out too much, so I didn't really need as much. It's a little bit, you know, like an optical illusion. Because, you know, it's a straight hole it's a straight threaded hole in a round situation. So I'm going to wing those two down, and I think it's going to be fine. Now, that being said, like I said, all the other aftermarket stuff was really, like, so far out of the league. Like, it's like, if I got the smaller booster, it would have looked a little bit more like the original. But, you know, this is a better booster, and it fits. The only difference is because it's an 11-inch booster, the transmission linkage, I ended up, what do you call it? This guy right here. This guy was in the way, so I just put it in low gear, and once I put it in, I put it flush. I test fitted already, and it fits flush, and it won't get in the way. So that was my first thing, because no matter what, you know, booster you get, it has this bolt pattern. So I'm like, let me drill the bolt pattern before I modify this, because I might have to get the 9-inch booster because it may have not fit. You know, it may have like been nowhere near the ballpark. You know, but now you can put whatever you want. But then again, I've modified this. Now all the other ones, I have what? Now the original one here. Hang on. The center of the or the end of the thing. I might actually have to cut off more. It depends how much I left myself, but the end of the end of the thing is like 3 3/4 inches, and this thing is a little bit thicker, of course. And I might actually have a little more room and I can grind that down more, but you know, I'm 4 inches in the center where it was 4 inches on the end. So that's like, I had a guess. I wasn't sure, like, after everything, where I was going to be. That's why I'm doing this now. But it's like basically, it's hard to see because I'm looking at the camera more than the thing, but it's like 4 1/4. So I might have to take another 1/4 inch off it, you know. So that's the least of my worries. That's why you got to test fit things and see how they are. And there might be a couple of burrs on this, but as long as that clears, it should be fine. But yeah, if I got to take off a 1/4 inch of threads, it's no big deal. This is going to get winged down tight. It articulates, and it's going to fit. If this thing fits beautifully on the brake pedal itself. And I'm going to put one side over the other because of the weld and how I grinded it. So I wasn't sure if I was going to use this side or the other side yet. I think I determined this side was going to be the side because it's more square right here. I got a little more weld ramping up there. And I just figured one side has to have a little bit extra weld, but you know, there's plenty of weld all the way around. It ain't going nowhere. Like I said, it's threaded, so it's ultimate safety. That's the most important thing. And I think this is gonna work out just fine, even if I have to modify it a little bit. Not sure if I'll make another video about it, but because I didn't buy the master cylinder because I'm not sure what the depth is, because it comes with an awfully long piston rod. I didn't take this out yet, and the original one had you know, pretty large rod as well. So I think it's similar because of the GM style, but it's like usually like the Corvette master cylinders that they give you with these things, they're deep if it's manual brakes and shallow if it's power brakes. So I don't, you know, like I think it's set up that you have to use the manual brake one no matter what, because they give you the little spacer. But it's funny how the manual master cylinder is more money than the power one. And I just thought it'd be no problem buying one locally because I wasn't sure. And I wasn't sure actually if I was going to go with the Corvette Master Cylinder because it's relatively low down here, and I didn't want to get anything in the way. And I got to mount the what do you call it? The proportioning valve as well. And there's just a T right over here that is in there. I just like broke off the line. Somebody had done these lines in the past, but you know, not like super well. But yeah, right there. That's the little T, and I'm gonna get a, you know, I have the GM proportioning valve, and leaves it open to putting a you know, a brake light, a warning light for failures in the future, and I think it's gonna work out pretty well. I just have to figure out how I'm doing the lines, and that'll be tomorrow because it's getting cold and darker already. But the main thing was getting that booster set. I am going to put it in and see how it matches up, and I just may have to cut off a little bit more. So we'll see. So the biggest pain in the ass, and I had the same pain in the ass trying to get the old one out, is that it's a tight fit on this. It fits loosely, but you have to get it square. The other one had a little more taper. It was a little bit easier, but you have to actually have the thing out in order to get this on because it's such a straight run, and the brake pedal is very rigid. And the original one had a very, you know, it doesn't articulate. This one articulates, but it doesn't really, you know, help per se. So, and let's see if you can see. Can't really see the cotter pin hole, but there's like a spring on the inside there, which is great. And I think, yeah, you can see the hole there. Come on, yeah. So I'll be able to, I can't really see it because the steering column is in the way. That's why it's getting shadowed. But I have a clear run at that. I got the full hole open, and it's on the spring tension, so it keeps it maintained. And the only thing I got to do now is just put it through the holes. And once I put it through the hole, I'll be able to see like where the brake pedal is in relation to where it was. It's basically a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch higher. Let's see if it looks stupid or not, and we'll figure that out. And I'll have to cut more off the brake pedal. But I like to leave the options open when I do things like this, because a lot of times, you know, brake pedal's closer, it feels better actually, but we'll see. Okay, I got it in the 4 holes. it's just, it keeps falling out. What do you call it? So I pull up, and in relation to the brake pedal, I mean, it's really not bad. You know, I'm probably gonna, if I wedge my impact gun underneath it. Hang on a second. Okay. So right now, I have my my brake my gun. This is mounted flush. Yep, pretty much. So then you put your clatter hoppers in here. Gas, brake. It's honestly fine. You know, because the other thing I worry is that, although, you know, because of how it ended up, I was worried that it wasn't going to have enough throw inside of that thing. It's almost like it's supposed to have less throw because, you know, they're universal, even though they're based on a GM design. A lot of those B-body cars had inch and an eighth master cylinders, so there's less, less travel. So I was worried that it was so long, I was going to have less travel, and I was worried about anything hitting the inside, but it honestly should be fine. You know, it should have all, like, I didn't want to run out of pedal. Like, if you get a bad brake line and the pedal goes to the floor, you want to be able to hit the other side of the master, because if you don't have full articulation of the master cylinder, you're gonna have a problem. You know, when you get there, like if you're running out and the pedal hits the floor, that becomes an issue. So I gave myself an extra half an inch there, and I think that's a smart thing to do it. I don't think it's too high, and if it's too high for him, I can always just I can take it off again and just grind it down. I'd rather be safe instead of sorry. Until I get the master in, I don't know how this is going to test out. You know, because I'm going to have to test it with, like, I got to make sure I'm reaching the bottom of the master cylinder, and that's a thing, because if you have ever a failure on one side or the other, it goes all the way to the floor, and you have that little bit left at the bottom. But if you don't have the throw, or like I said before, the master cylinder bottoms out and the pedal hits the floor, then you have that issue, and you got to really factor that in. And sometimes you got to get the bigger master cylinder because of that. So you throw more fluid to the end, but it doesn't necessarily change the flow, depending, you know, because if it's just, you know, an open line, that's going to go. But the main thing is the one that's working holds the car, you know, because what's the point of doing this and putting a dual master in if you're going to run out of, you know, pedal, you know? Because I'm not even sure if the original one, like if you start putting a double master on that, if it has enough throw either. But then again, some of these I think had more throw, and that's why it was able to deal with it. Yeah, because it's one piston. So, but look at this. Not only is it's leaking, it's rusty, pretty crazy. And he was stopping with that. Crazy. All right, so it came with this useless shit and some other stud, and this was way off what I had to do. Like I said, these are, everything is 3/8 here, so that wouldn't have worked with the original, you know, brake pedal and whatnot. This thing here looks like it goes in there, and this one has one. So this one has the power brake, so at least it takes the cheaper master cylinder. So I gather if you had a longer master cylinder, they get you to pull this guy out. Usually these things have an adjustment, but I guess they know where these things are, and that's it. But that's the short one is for that. But I guess it'd be safe to hold it, because, like, if you actually use the original master with this, you would need it deep, you know. And I just thought this was one, and it didn't have one in there, but they actually have the one set up for power brake. So that right there, if the original, the one that's in there is about this long, this one has the extra one for that. So I can buy the power master cylinder for the Corvette, and that should work out just fine. So happy about that. And my customer would like to save 20 bucks when he can, so, you know, why not? So this is all in, all the bolts are in. The cotter pin is through. I could not put the washer that it originally came with, but it's like really no big deal. It's fine. And I suppose I'm blocking something here. Come on. So I suppose I could have got a thinner washer or something like that, but it's not going anywhere. I dropped it in from the top to go to the bottom. There's not much play. The difference in the brake pedal is not a lot. I'm gonna get like I said, a new switch here. This one is like really rough. It's like, and it's kind of funky over there. But the new one comes with these nuts, because the thing had a clip that holds it in, and the clip would have interfered with me coming up on the pedal a little bit, or just at the brink of it, and it wasn't really holding as well anyway. So this, if this thing had to live further out, which it does, it may end up falling out, or the brake light come on, and I don't want that. So you have the one with the two solid nuts, and you just the top one and the bottom one over the bracket, and it stays. But this is fine, you know. And like I said, it's a matter of safety to get, more brake pedal going. God forbid, if you have a problem, you go to the floor, you don't run out of, because if you have more in the master than you have allotted for here, you're gonna have yourself a problem. That's why people with too many mats sometimes like this, you can actually, have a problem. Looks like the brake lines were done on this car, but somebody stripped this brake line. I took it off already, but it was the brake hose. Yeah, I had to take this one off because that was original one. But it looks like everything that going, the one that goes to the rear and the one that goes to that side is new. So I don't know why I didn't take this video and do this first before I close the big damn hood. Hang on. Anyway, so I took out that T that was over here, and this is the one going to the back, and this guy is the one going to the right side front. And those are new lines. Those are done in the last 15 years or something like that, maybe even less. They're steel lines, but they're fine. I got to make a new line, the short line going right to here, and the proportioning valve is going to be up here, and I got a four-wheel disc brake proportioning valve. You're not supposed to, if you have four-wheel drum, you don't want it to change, um, what you got going on. So if you use a disc brake, drum brake one, the rears may not work like they're designed then. And so you get the four-wheel disc. And if you want to just do front disc in the future, then you put the other proportioning valve, the PV2. Right now it's PV4. Yeah, and the Corvette master cylinder should work fine. And they have equal reservoirs, so that's also good for four-wheel drum brake. And drum brake, those little master cylinders that the original ones have, like even the Dolby one, like particularly the one I'm talking about, like the Chrysler one, you can't put any fluid in there. It's like nothing, So you don't have much time, So these things are usually huge, and you have plenty of, uh, throw, plenty of fluid, So you don't, if you have a leak, you have a little more time, So I'll probably make a part two to show how it ends up, but it went as good as it was going to get, and I had a solution for everything. There was a problem with everything, but I had a solution for everything. So far, so good. So unfortunately, these master cylinders are expensive. Even on eBay, it really wasn't that much. To get it locally, I think it's better because there's lifetime warranty. And the thing is that it's cheaper for the power brake one, and it ends up being on this Corvette that it still has a deep well. So I think I have one of those adapters that I'm going to put in. The other thing is they're like $70, when it was like $55 or $56 for the power brake one. And I feel funny putting the power brake one in because I did it to somebody else, and they barely touch the brakes, and it like really locks up. So you got to be careful with four-wheel disc, and the 1-inch master is fine even for disc brakes. So if it ever gets upgraded, but I can't really put an inch and an eighth because the original one was an inch, and now there's two ports, divided. So it's got to stop better, and the booster is way bigger. So I feel fun, kind of funny, doing it like that because it's just a tad weird. I don't want to mess with anybody's brakes where they got to be so ginger on them. So it is what it is. I don't know why I try to save everybody money, but it is what it is, and sometimes you got to pay. So, but there's not a lot of choices for a 1 inch master, and the ones that I didn't mind, like from a late '60s GM car, it was more money. It's like $5 more for those kind of cars, and they had a smaller reservoir. So I'm like, you know what? Everything I bought the proportioning valve, the bracket, and all the other stuff already, and that all is supposed to work with the Corvette master cylinder. So I just got to get the Corvette style, and I got to get the manual brake one, using it for power brakes, and take it from there.